Hello there, welcome or welcome back to my channel, or if you're new here, hi, my name is Samantha and this is my channel where I talk all about books. Anyway, today I'm coming to you with my July wrap-up, which is actually crazy because I cannot believe that July is over already. I feel like I say that every month, but for me, June and July really felt like it was just 1 month. Those 2 months flew by. If you told me that was just 1 month, I would totally believe you. But actually no, it's August, which is insane. My wedding is in like 2 months. I'm not ready, but it's okay. Everything will be absolutely fine. Anyway, July was a little bit of a weird month for me in a few different ways. First of all, in terms of reading, it felt a bit strange. And then also just in my own personal life, I had some weird stuff going on. I also quit my job in July. Yeah, and I was actually vlogging for the Tarot Readathon, but I didn't end up posting anything because I just didn't like the way that the vlogs turned out. So I ended up scrapping them, but I talked about that in the vlog. But yeah, I ended up quitting my job and I'm still working at the moment, but I'm gonna be finishing in mid-August. But there's no like big drama or anything. I've been talking about this for a while, but basically I won't be able to finish my course in time if I stay. So I realized that actually I need more time to finish off the course. So yeah, I decided to leave my job. And then I feel like it was a weird month in terms of reading because I took part in the Tarot Readathon, as I just said, and that was really fun. I really enjoyed it. However, the problem was that in July I also got sick. I was sick like last week, so I'm still a bit croaky because of that, but I always find that whenever I'm sick, I end up watching a bunch of booktube and I get really inspired about all of these different videos I want to make. So yeah, towards the end of July, I was like still reading the books that I needed to read for the Tarot Readathon, but all I wanted to do was start working on all of these reading vlogs that I've got ideas for. So just so you know, you might have a bunch of reading vlogs coming up in the future if you decide to stick around. I'm actually already filming a themed reading vlog, which will hopefully be coming out next weekend. But anyway, so yeah, it was a bit of a strange one because then I was like still reading the books for the Tarot Readathon, but I was like, oh, I'm kind of over this. I want to just like start new stuff. And I should have just found a way to get those books to work for the prompts. But I don't know. In my mind, I was like, I've set my TBR now. That's nothing to do with the readathon itself. That's just to do with me and my own personal reading mood. But I did enjoy taking part in the readathon. I hope Team Pentacles wins. I don't know yet. But anyway, that's a lot of rambling. But anyway, if you've never watched one of my wrap-ups before, what I basically do is I go over my statistics from Storygraph. There will be timestamps in the description if you want to skip anything. But yeah, I go over my stats from Storygraph. Then I go through every single book I read and what I rated them. Although I will actually be omitting one book because it is for a secret reading vlog. So I won't be talking about that book at all. And then I review the books that I feel like I have a lot to say about. If there's a book that I don't really feel particularly strongly about, then I won't talk about it. But that's how I do my wrap-ups. And let's start off with the statistics before I ramble about something else unnecessary. So actually, since last month, Storygraph has introduced a new feature in their statistics, which I think is really cool. Anyway, we'll get to that in a second. So first of all, in the month of July, I read 8 books. I read 2,638 pages, which is definitely my highest month so far of the year. I also listened to 32.72 hours of audiobooks. This is the new feature. It's the average time to finish. So that's cool. So yeah, my average time to finish book in the month of July was 12 days, which I have to say that was actually very much skewed by a book that I finished today. I'm actually filming this on July 31st. But yeah, there was one book that I was reading for like almost 2 months. So that is why that's so high. Earlier in the day, it was at 6 days. That was quite a jump. Anyway, in terms of my moods, I read mostly emotional books. Funny, lighthearted, hopeful, and a few other moods as well. I always have quite a wide range of moods. Moving on to the pacing. All of the books I read were medium paced, apparently. Although I actually would say that some of them were fast paced. This is one thing that annoys me, is that it's always what the majority vote for. Even if you say a book is fast paced, Storygraph won't record it as fast paced, which I find a little bit annoying because I'm like, I maybe don't agree with other people that these books were medium paced. It's fine. It's not really a big deal. The next statistic is for the page number. So the majority of the books I read were between 300 and 499 pages, which is my standard. So I had 5 books that were in that range, and I had 1 book that was over 500 pages, which is actually really good because I'm trying to read more longer books, and I think I had maybe 2 last month which were over 500 pages. So I'm definitely on track for reading, I think 10. That was my goal for the year, was to read 10 books over 500 pages, and I think I'm on track. And in terms of audiobook length, I had 1 book which was between 8 hours and 16 hours basically, and 1 book that was over 16 hours. In terms of my fiction non-fiction split, 7 of the books I read were fiction and 1 was non-fiction. Any guesses what book took me 2 months to finish? In terms of my genres, I read 5 romance books, 5 contemporary, but 4 of those were contemporary romance. I read 2 young adult, 2 fantasy. They were both young adult fantasy, but 1 was young adult fantasy romance. 1 LGBTQIA+, 1 sports, 1 science, 1 politics, and 1 literary. In terms of format, I read 5 books physically, I read 2 on audio, and I read 1 digitally. And then my star rating is a little bit disappointing this month. I had an average rating of 3.25. However, saying that, you'll see on this bar chart that one of the books doesn't have a rating. That book will have a rating rating, and that will obviously change the average rating, but I didn't want to rate it now because that book is going to be in that secret reading vlog that I'm working on at the moment. So it will actually be a little bit higher than 3.25, but at the moment, that's what the average rating is. It's not great, and even with the new rating coming in, it still was kind of an average month. I had 2 2-stars, 1 3-star, 1 3.5, 1 3.75, 1 4, and 1 4.5. A little bit disappointing. No 5 stars this month again, but that's okay. We can work on that. Anyway, so those are all of the stats that I've got. And now let's talk about all of the books that I read and what I rated them. So surprisingly, I actually have most of these books physically with me. Normally I have to put the picture up, but not today. So the first book that I read in the month of July was Flawless by Elsie Silver, and I gave this 4 stars. I read Flawless for the prompt of The Fool, read a book by a new to you author. Then I read Happy Place by Emily Henry, and I gave this 3.75 stars. And this was for the prompt of The World, read a book that you've seen all over Bookstagram, BookTube, or BookTok. Next, I read Two Wrongs Make a Right by Chloe Leese, and I gave this 2 stars. I read this one for the prompt of Knight of Cups, read a book with a character going through emotional turmoil. Next, I listened to the audiobook of City of Heavenly Fire by Cassandra Clare, and I gave this 4.5 stars. This was for the prompt of The Moon, read a book that explores the supernatural or paranormal. Next, I read Heartless by Elsie Silver, and I gave this 3 stars. I read Heartless for the prompt of Eight of Wands, read a fast-paced story. Then I listened to the audiobook of The Midnight Library by Matt Haig, and I gave this 2 stars. And I read this book for the prompt of The Devil, read a book that you know has mixed reviews. And the last book that I finished that I can talk about is A City on Mars, Can We Settle Space, Should We Settle Space, and Have We Really Thought This Through by Kelly and Zach Weinersmith, and I gave this 3.5 stars. Okay, so those are all of the books that I read, and now let's get into the reviews. So as usual, I'm going to go from worst to best. So first of all, I'm going to talk about Two Wrongs Make a Right by Chloe Leese. This is actually the second book by Chloe Leese that I've read, and I haven't enjoyed either of them. So I think Chloe Leese and I are actually going to be done, unfortunately, because I want to like her books, especially this series. So this is the first book in the Wilmot Sisters series. This is basically a trilogy of romance books, obviously, which are like Shakespeare retellings, which I love a Shakespeare retelling. In terms of like films, I feel like I haven't found a good book that I've really enjoyed that's a Shakespeare retelling, but in terms of films, I think like there are some complete knockouts out there, especially for the 3 plays that inspired the 3 books in this trilogy. All the movies that I can think of are incredible. So this one was inspired by Much Ado About Nothing. I personally loved the movie Anyone But You. I feel like a lot of people didn't like that so much, but I found it hilarious. I would definitely watch it again. It's not like my new favorite movie ever, but I liked it a lot. The second one is The Taming of the Shrew, which I'm sorry, but 10 Things I Hate About You is a cinematic masterpiece. And then the last one is a 12th Night retelling. And you may not know this about me, but She's the Man is one of my favorite movies of all time. I love that movie. I think it's hilarious, and I genuinely just love that movie so much. So when I saw that she had a trilogy of romance books which were Shakespeare retellings, I was so excited. I was on board to become the biggest Chloe Leese stan, but I just don't like her writing. I don't know what it is. I just don't really like her characters. I just don't really like it. I don't know. There's something about her writing which I just don't enjoy. But if you were interested in checking this book out, it's basically about our 2 main characters, Bee and Jamie, and they basically meet each other. They both kind of think they're kind of cute, but they instantly dislike each other because of a few mishaps. But then their friends try to set them up secretly. Like they get them texting each other, but they don't know each other's true identity. So they try and basically set them up, and then eventually they do go on a date, and then they're like, oh shit, you're the person I actually hate. Shall we try to get back at the people who set us up by actually pretending to date? I don't know where the logic is in that, but anyway, that is the setup. And so yes, they pretend to date, and then obviously feelings grow from there. And yeah, I didn't like it. I didn't like it at all, and I'm so sorry, but it just wasn't good. I ended up having to skim a lot of this because I got really, really bored, and I just didn't like it. I'm so sorry. I want to like Chloe Leese's books, but I just don't. Okay, I'm going slightly out of order now because I want to talk about 2 books at the same time, but technically one of them is lower rated than this book, but whatever. So the next one to talk about is A City on Mars by Kelly and Zach Weinersmith. This is all about the big question of can we settle space, should we settle space, and have we really thought this through? I personally am not pro settling space. I think it's freaking dumb. I think we should try and fix the planet that we live on first before we decide, well, maybe we should go to a different planet and, you know, mess that one up. I feel like there are better options than leaving our planet behind. Luckily for me, this book very much agrees with my opinion. So this one was quite comforting to read in a way, because it really just made me feel like, okay, this is just, it's not actually going to happen anytime soon, probably not in my lifetime. So this just kind of goes over all of the arguments for why it's kind of not possible in terms of just biologically for humans, the really bad options that we've got if we did want to move to a different planet, and also like the political implications and legal implications of it. It was a really interesting read. It was written in a very humorous way as well, so I really enjoyed that, although I will say that some parts did feel a little bit repetitive and I did get a little bit bored, and I didn't actually read the whole entire thing. I'm going to be honest. I didn't read every single section. I started off reading every single section, but then I did find myself getting a little bit bored and kind of dreading picking it up. So at that point, I decided to just read sections that seemed interesting to me. But I did read the majority of this and I did enjoy what I read. But yeah, it was good. It was interesting. And if you're at all interested in this topic, I would recommend it. But just know that it's a little bit chunkier than maybe you would have thought. I thought it was going to be like 250 pages, maybe 300. It's actually about 400. So it's a bit of a slog. It was interesting in parts. And that book didn't actually complete any prompts for the readathon. That was just a book that I started in June. And obviously I needed to finish it because it is a library book and I'm no longer going to be working at the library in not that long. So I need to finish my library loans before I leave. All right, the next book that I've got is the last Emily Henry book I had left to read, Happy Place. Obviously I heard about this book a lot when it came out last year, but recently loads of people have been reading it again. And I went in with lowered expectations because a friend of mine read this last year and she said, just so you know, it's not happy. It's very, very depressing. And I would agree with that. This book is very sad. If somehow you don't know what this book is about, this basically follows our main characters, Harriet and Wynne. Harriet and Wynne have been together for a long time. They got together in college and they were part of this friendship group. And the friendship group still goes on holiday to the same place every summer. But Harriet and Wynne actually broke up about 6 months prior. But they haven't told their friends yet. So they end up going on this holiday and they have to pretend that they're still madly in love, planning a wedding so that their friends don't find out, because this is also going to be their last summer in the cottage because it has been sold. So this is their last summer all together and they're just trying to keep up appearances. So they have to sort of fake date so that their friends don't find out. And I did enjoy this book. As I said, I gave it a 3.75, which is not a bad rating, but it wasn't quite a 4. I thought 3.5 was a bit harsh. It is very specific. I did enjoy this book, but I will say it was just very sad. It was really, really sad. I don't know. It didn't feel like a romance book to me. Obviously it is, but so much of it was more about the friendships and just other stuff going on in their lives as well that doesn't really feel like massively like a romance book, which I did sort of know going in. I don't know what it was. It just didn't have the magic of other Emily Henry books, but it's still better than People We Meet on Vacation, so there's that. But yeah, this is definitely my number 4 spot in my Emily Henry ranking, unfortunately. But it was still good. Like, I would still recommend it, but just go in knowing that it's sad. It's not happy at all. It's a lie. All right, so I'm going to talk about the next 2 books together, although also a little bit separately, but I just thought it made sense to talk about them sort of at the same time. Anyway, but those are obviously going to be Flawless and Heartless by Elsie Silver, books 1 and 2 in the Chestnut Springs series. Anyway, I'm actually talking about them in the wrong order. So I'm going to talk about this one first and then this one, because this one was better in my opinion. So let's talk about Heartless real quick. So if you don't know what Heartless is about, it basically follows our 2 main characters, Willa and Cade. And Cade is the older brother of the love interest in this book, and Willa is the best friend of the main character in this book. Anyway, so that's how we meet them. So Cade is a single dad. He's 38 and he has taken on some more responsibility, and it's now the summer, so he needs someone to come and look after his son while he works hard every day. He basically needs a live-in nanny, and Willa is actually having a break from her job because she works in a bar and it's currently under construction, so she doesn't have a job for the summer. So Summer, the main character from this book, recommends for Willa to be the new nanny. And when Cade and Willa first meet, Willa is like, he's really sexy, and he also thinks that she's really sexy, but he's like, no, absolutely not. You cannot be my nanny because I think you're really sexy, pretty much. But he decides to hire her anyway because she's kind of the best option, and also she's really, really good with his son. So he decides to hire her even though he's very grumpy, really comes across like he hates her, but obviously he doesn't. He's just harboring some secret feelings for her. Not even feelings, it's lust. It's just lust, but we'll get to that. We'll get to that when we get to that. And Willa thinks he's really hot, but also she just kind of wants the job, and if she gets the opportunity to save a horse and ride a cowboy, then she's gonna do that. Anyway, so that's the arrangement. That's the setup. She's the nanny and she's living there, and tensions start to rise because there's a hot tub. They spend a lot of time in the hot tub together, and they probably shouldn't be, because that's not an appropriate thing to do with your employee, especially when she's 13 years younger than you. Anyway, I did enjoy this book. I am talking about it in a very sarcastic way, but I did enjoy this book. But I have to say, I think I enjoyed it before it got physical. For me, personally, I really liked seeing seeing the relationship before. It was developing in a nice way. Once things got physical, the nature of the relationship changed a lot, and I didn't like the way that it played out. Also, there was smut when there shouldn't have been smut. As in, I think they did it at inappropriate times. I'm not gonna say when they did it, but there was one particular scene and I was like, this is awful. Your 5-year-old son could walk in at any time, and maybe not just him. There might have been other people around, but I'm not gonna spoil what that was in case you want to find out for yourself. I won't say what it was, but yeah, I personally was like, there's a child around and you should really be doing this behind a closed door. Anyway, and yeah, I just didn't really like Cade, to be honest. I liked Willow a lot, but I just didn't like Cade. I don't understand. I see loads of reviews on Goodreads and everyone like says that Cade is the best, and I personally just found him to be a little bit creepy. And there was a trope in here that I really didn't like, which I won't say what it is, but I personally didn't like it, and I feel like it was a weird choice to go for, considering the history that Cade has. Anyway, that's all I'll say about that. I gave this 3 stars. I didn't really like it that much. I thought I was gonna love it. That's why I bought it. Sadly, it was a 3-star. So I didn't hate it, but I just wish certain things had been done differently. I will continue on with the series though. I'm excited for Powerless. I think I'm really gonna like that couple. But the better one, the first one, Flawless, this one was so much fun. I flew through this, and that is why I went out and bought the second one straight away, because I loved this one. This one follows our main character, Summer, and she's basically working for her dad's PR firm, and one of his biggest clients is this bull rider called Rhett. But Rhett is basically overheard saying that he hates milk, which seems ridiculous, but yeah, he's overheard saying that he hates milk. But a lot of his sponsors are like in the dairy industry, so obviously this does not come across well, and he's kind of known for being a bit of a bad boy. He needs a bit of taming, if you will. So Summer's dad decides that Summer is going to be Rhett's new babysitter, but she's basically going to go with him for the rest of his bull riding tour to make sure that he behaves himself and clean up his professional image. But obviously they catch feelings for each other. I really loved this one. This one was really fun. I had a great time with it. The only thing that kept me from giving this a higher rating, I think, is that I felt like the characters didn't really have that much personality to them. And also there was this storyline involving Summer's ex, and I feel like it wasn't really fleshed out enough. It's definitely something that's going to be touched upon in a later book, but at this point in time, I really felt like we could have gone more into it and why that whole situation arose. But whatever, I still had a great time with this one, and I gave it 4 stars. And as I said already, I will read the next one. But yes, it is currently 30 degrees in this room, so I want to finish this video. So that's all that I have. Those were all the books that I read in the month of July, -1. But yes, please let me know if you've read any of these books down below. I would love to know. Let me know your thoughts on them, or just let me know what you read in July. Did you have any 5-star reads? If you did, let me know what they were, because I'm looking for some more 5 stars. So yeah, let me know what your favorite book that you read in July was. I would love to know. But that is all I have for this video, so thank you so much for watching. I hope you liked it. If you did, please give a thumbs up. If you're new here, feel free to subscribe down below, and if you made it all the way to the end of this video, please leave me a sun emoji, because the sun has finally decided to come out in the UK. It's finally summer here. So yes, please leave me a sun in the comments so I know you made it to the end. But that is all, so I'll see you very soon with another video. Bye! Then I read Happy Place by Emily Henry. Forgot her name for a second. How could I do that? Then I read Emily Henry. Oh my god.